Hello, movie friends. How we doing? This is Anthony.
And this is James. Today we're going to finish up our X-Men week and talk about the prequel films, X-Men First Class, X-Men Days of Future Past, X-Men Apocalypse, and X-Men Dark Phoenix.
It's a lot of movies.
Quite a few.
And just like the original series, there are some really good ones in this mix, and there are also some hits, some misses. I think with X-Men, I think it's hard to crack the code for a movie for it. I think it's pretty difficult, given how many characters there are, and trying to pay service to the fans who love the eclectic group of characters they have in the comics, trying to fit them into movies. So every movie you're adding new characters, adding new mutants. So I think it's a lot to get a hold of. So I think on the ones that they pull it off, like X-Men Days of Future Past, it's a really fantastic movie. And then something like Dark Phoenix really missed the mark. And also this series, we saw Matthew Vaughn and Simon Kinberg come into the director's chairs.
Yeah, so obviously the MCU and Marvel has been able to figure that out with all of their 47 films in the last 3 years. So they figure out all the team-ups and all the new films and all the new characters really well. I mean, Shang-Chi was great, Guardians of the Galaxy are great, obviously, and so they pretty much only put out hits, which is pretty great for that entire franchise. And now they own X-Men and they own 20th Century Fox, so Disney. So now we'll see maybe post-Dark Phoenix if they start to connect the X-Men into the MCU and into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which would be pretty cool.
It seems like that's probably going to be happening 5 years from now, because they're doing the Phase 4 right now, Marvel is, with Wanda and all these new heroes they've been establishing. And then I think once they finish Phase 4, Phase 5 will be X-Men integration.
I think they hinted at a possible, like, with an Easter egg at the end of Dark Phoenix, like, oh, they're going to start joining the MCU. But I think that's just, like, for fun. I don't know if it was confirmed yet because they didn't buy 20th Century Fox until 2019.
Oh, yeah, that's true. So
for $60 billion or something like that?
Yeah. Dark Phoenix, I believe, was the movie that was made after the merger.
Okay.
Is what I think how it went. So they bought Fox, and then Fox made Dark Phoenix to finish up the X-Men franchise they had established.
So it happened the same year in 2019.
Okay, and then now Disney is going to be overseeing the entire thing.
So that movie was already in production before the merger and everything, and so before they bought the property, obviously.
And I think ultimately another strength to this series is they've always been well cast, and they added another great group of actors for the younger versions of the mutants. Especially, I think that obviously the highlights of this entire series for the prequel franchise are James McAvoy, Michael Fassbender, and of course Jennifer Lawrence. I think they're the three highlights of the films.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, you got to try to cast equal actors to Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen. I think they did a terrific job with James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender. They're incredible actors.
Yeah, and do you remember the original posters for First Class? That they were like the worst posters ever made?
I don't think so.
They got ridiculed online because Fox made these posters where it was just the shapes of Xavier and Magneto, the older ones, and it was just blacked out, and then the heads of McAvoy and Fassbender were put inside of the shadow, and it was just like their heads were floating in this dark.
Who came up with that idea?
And they got destroyed online, so they had to change their marketing campaign. But they were great choices for both of those respective actors.
Absolutely. But I think the biggest strength of all the prequels, besides Days of Future Past, which is kind of its hybrid film because it's combining both, is the lack of Logan, because we love Logan. He's a fan favorite. He's our favorite character in the X-Men. But he can't save the movie. He can't save the day in every single X-Men movie. You need other lead characters. And now it was crucial for Logan to take a back seat in the prequel storylines outside Days of Future Past because he's the lead basically of that film. But they needed the first film especially, and the other one, X-Men Apocalypse, to not be about him. His cameos are excellent. But the guy can't save the world every time.
And Dark Phoenix was actually the first X-Men movie without him in it. Mm-hmm. Hugh Jackman had been in every single X-Men movie up until Dark Phoenix because he had retired the character in 2017 with Logan before Dark Phoenix came out. So he was done by then. And also it wouldn't make sense timeline-wise because he meets them all in 2000. Or 2002.
A lot of things don't fully make sense timeline-wise once you start dealing with Days of Future Past. Then you're going back to Apocalypse, which is kind of like is basically the sequel to First Class, but like Days of Future Past didn't happen, I guess. Yeah. So it's kind of odd.
And I think ultimately the biggest con to the prequel series is the villains. Sebastian Shaw, played by Kevin Bacon in First Class, is an awesome villain.
He's great.
I think he did a fantastic job. and I think he's the only really great villain of the entire prequel series.
I like Trask. I like Peter Dinklage as Trask.
Okay, yeah. Oh, never mind. He's good. He's great.
He's a good villain.
I'm sorry. So
The other
Days of
two.
Future Past. So Apocalypse and Jessica Chastain's alien character, and essentially Jean Grey and Dark Phoenix were big misses for villains. But I think that the villains in the originals were always pretty strong villains in the original trilogy.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I get that. Well, besides the fact that, we talked about how in Last Stand, how the two storylines of Dark Phoenix with the vaccine and then the villain there is like pick one. Pick one antagonist to the film.
But I do think the strength of the prequel series is how important Mystique was. Because in the original trilogy, Mystique, she was always, Magneto's number one soldier. Didn't have much dialogue. Didn't really have a plot. She was always serving Magneto. But in these films, they make Mystique a very central, very important, and emotionally resonant character. And Jennifer Lawrence was great as Mystique. And it was nice to see her more fleshed out because she didn't really have any kind of character development at all in the original trilogy. She seemed to be the same static character from 1, 2, and 3, but Jennifer Lawrence got to do a lot with their role this time.
Yeah, she's great, although I do like Rebecca's Mystique a little better than Jennifer Lawrence's. Her Mystique. I think it was more fun. And I think also, she's...
Well, yeah, because she had more combat fun.
It's really different, the Mystique in the prequels versus the Mystique who's like fully formed in the original trilogy, where she seems more evil and nefarious and more on Magneto's side, where she's constantly ambiguous, sort of like Magneto and Eric in terms of their moral compass, and are they a villain, are they a hero. Mystique has a huge role to play in the prequel for the first 3 films because they kill her off eventually in Dark Phoenix real quick. But I like how she has so much more to do for sure. But I do prefer Rebecca's performance more.
And I really love in Days of Future Past, she's the key to everything.
Yeah.
Like she is the driving force of the entire story.
She's arguably the lead character in that film besides Logan.
Yeah.
For sure. So let's get into it. But actually, before we continue, the best way to support Raiders of the Lost Podcast is to become a patron at patreon.com/Raiders of the Lost Podcast, where you get awesome perks like podcast schedules, personalized videos, Patreon shoutouts on the podcast for top-tier patrons, as well as weekly bonus episodes, which post every single Wednesday. We also just launched our podcast masterclass online course yesterday. So for anyone who wants to start a podcast or wants to improve their current podcast, our 22-chapter, 46-lesson course will give you all of the secrets of how we do everything behind the scenes. The link is podcastmasterclass.teachable.com, or just go to our website, RaidersOfTheLostPodcast.com. You'll find the link right there on the homepage. And right now, for the first week, you can use our coupon code PODCAST10 to get 10% off this online course. It only lasts for a week, but after that, you won't have a free discount, but we'll do like a holiday discount. Who knows? Make sure to follow, subscribe wherever you're listening and watching around the world. Hit the notification bell, and thank you so much for tuning in. Now, before we begin, what's your favorite film of these 4 movies?
Well, my favorite X-Men film of all of them is X-Men Days of Future Past. I think it is the pinnacle of the potential of the X-Men series and franchise. I think it's the best film adaptation. It's a very complicated story, and somehow the filmmakers and writers managed to pull off this incredible blending of the old and the new. Just seeing scenes like having Patrick Stewart and James McAvoy sharing a scene together is really remarkable. Logan is, I think it's besides the movie Logan, I think this is Logan's best role in the X-Men franchises, and I just love the idea of the time travel. It's not hokey. They came up with a great concept of Kitty being able to transport a mind back in time, and also it's a very complex plot, but they establish it within the first 2 minutes by showing you an example of Kitty sending the other mutants back in time. What's his name? I can't remember his name. Sending him back in time. Bishop back in time. And that tells us how the story is going to unfold. So it's like a very smart way of, like Chris Nolan, showing you an example of whatever the concept is. And then now that the audience understands it, this is what the movie is. And I had no trouble at all following it. And again, Peter Dinklage is a great villain. And also the Sentinels were something that we always wanted to see, and they really pulled it off with Days of Future Past.
Yeah, I think, you're probably right. This is the most epic of the X-Men franchise. It's 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. This came out in 2014, directed by Bryan Singer, and this is when X-Men send Wolverine to the past in a desperate effort to change history and prevent an event that results in doom for both humans and mutants. And the cast is absurd. There's so many amazing scenes in this film. Trask again's a great villain. Mystique has so much to do, arguably the lead character. She has a lot in terms of the plot development because she's the reason why the Sentinels are invented in the first place, and also the reason why they're able to get her powers of shape-shifting and adapting to environments of whatever the enemy they're fighting is. I also love the concept of Logan going back in time because Charles can't, because Logan's the only one who can survive. But when we go back in time with Logan, he's like now vulnerable. He doesn't have his adamantium skeleton, but he's still Wolverine. Like, he still won't die from bullet wounds to his body. They just kind of repel out of him still. But the no adamantium makes him a little more vulnerable than usual. I love his bone claws. They're so fun to watch. And I think the best part about Days of Future Past is Wolverine isn't the wild card anymore. The wild card is Charles and Eric in this film.
Yeah, I think that in terms of that no adamantium, you really notice that when Wolverine attacks the Sentinel and his claws just get stuck in it, rather than you're used to him, he can slice through everything. So even he's not even used to it. You know, he's finding himself surprised at how limited he is. But the entire relationship between Eric and Charles is really the entire heart of the prequel franchise.
Yeah, for sure.
And McAvoy and Fassbender are really excellent together. Their chemistry is perfect, and it was hard, like, how could you compare anyone to Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen, and somehow these two great actors did, because they weren't the legendary heavyweights that the elders are, but they, at this time, at first class casting, up and coming rising stars. Now they're 10 years later, they're a couple of the best actors working in the world, and they're a couple of my favorite actors, and seeing them in first class, I really love how the writers brought them together, because I was always curious, how do they meet? Because in X-Men, the first one, they had obviously a long-standing relationship. They've known each other for like 40, 50 years. But I think they did a great job in the first one, X-Men First Class, by showing that the way they met was Charles actually saved Eric's life when Magneto was trying to take down Sebastian Shaw's submarine, and he was going to drown just from the fury. He kind of got like bloodlust, wasn't thinking clearly, and he was being taken underwater trying to stop the submarine, and Charles literally jumped into the water and got him to let go and release the submarine, saving his life, and that established their first ever meeting. I thought that was a really great way for these two iconic characters to meet.
Yeah, and because they, like, Magneto or Eric didn't really know that there were other mutants out there at the time too, which was really interesting. He's like, I thought I was alone. He's like, you're not alone.
Yeah, because he's kind of been on this hunt, taking down every Nazi that was in charge of the camp that he was
solo
stuck
mission.
in.
Yeah. He's a lone wolf.
It's really great, and I feel like they did a really great, in First Class, great reference to his famous Inglourious Bastard scene with the 3 beers inside of that bar.
The German bar.
Yeah, the German bar. I think it's
in?
Cuba.
Yeah,
it's a Spanish-speaking country. I can't remember exactly.
Portugal or something like
that. But I think that they definitely
Argentina.
referenced it. Whatever it is. Whatever it is, I think that might be one of my favorite scenes in the entire X-Men franchise, when he kills those 2 Nazis. And then what's really cool about Magneto in this is, in the entire series, is there are times when he kills without using his powers. Just like in that moment, for example, he could kill the last Nazi with the gun, just like make it go through him. But instead, he gets his power, brings the gun to his hand, and then he physically does the shooting. I think that adds a personal element to when he kills people. It happens every once in a while in the entire prequel series. He never did that in the original trilogy. It adds that element of, like, I want to feel what it's like to kill someone with my bare hands.
Yeah, and so X-Men First Class came out in 2011, directed by Matthew Vaughn, who's an exceptional director. He might be the best director of all the filmmakers who made X-Men films. And this is 86% on Rotten Tomatoes. If this film didn't work, the X-Men franchise may have died, because X3 was not that great. It left a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths, so they needed a great film. This movie has a very solid plot. Cuban Missile Crisis is involved, JFK. It's like real world events are put into this X-Men world, which is great because, like, I like X-Men Days of Future Past. No, the first one.
First Class?
First Class, it takes place in the 1960s, which is basically, the atomic age when the X-Men comics were first being invented and the characters were being created. So it kind of harkens back to the origins of X-Men themselves. So that's why I like it so much. I love the settings of the 1960s. They don't overdo it. It's just very playful and fun. The themes are great throughout the entire franchise, especially in this one with oppression, the Jews during the 1940s by the Nazis in Germany, minorities in Western cultures in America. And I love the origin stories of Magneto, Charles, and Mystique. And I think Magneto throughout the entire prequel franchise is the most interesting character in total, besides Apocalypse, where he is used as like the emotional backbone of that film, which I think was a mistake. But overall, I love his story throughout the franchise of the prequels, where he's ambiguous. He goes back and forth between being a hero, being a villain, ultimately becoming a villain. And we see all the events that take place in his life to make him the exact opposite of Charles, although he thinks they want the same thing, but they want different means to get that.
Yeah, they have different ideologies, but
Yeah,
the same goal.
Magneto wants control and power over the humans because of what they've done to him his entire life versus Charles wanting peace.
But I think that his character arc is the best of the franchise. But I agree with you about Apocalypse, where they set up Magneto's been a villain. He became a villainous character at the end of Days of Future Past. Like, it was like you're like, oh, this guy's gonna be the big bad, the next one. And then Apocalypse, now he's got a family. He's kind of living like a undisclosed life as a nobody, working in a steel mill. And it kind of felt like a ripoff of X-Men Origins Wolverine, because Logan's doing. He has a wife, and he is what do you guys call people who chop wood?
Lumberjack?
Yeah, he's a lumberjack. And then also it was reminiscent of Hawkeye's scene in Age of Ultron, where we find out he had a family and they go hide out at his cabin. And it just didn't suit the direction of Magneto's storyline from the first two films, from First Class and Days of Future Past. And now he's just like a family guy. And I think obviously they did that. They set this up because they wanted to make him the emotional beat of the story. Also, how do you turn Magneto fully bad? He wasn't. He's a villain by the end of Days of Future Past, but he's not like a genocidal, want to kill as many humans as possible kind of man. You can tell like he's getting there, but he's not quite there, because by the original trilogy, he despises humans and he wants them all gone, or at least changed to mutants. And so I did not like how they set up his character in Apocalypse. Mystique probably should have been the emotional heartbeat of that film. That probably would have worked better. And also, there's a big problem with Magneto's storyline in Days of Future Past. I mean, not Days of Future Past, in Apocalypse, where he literally destroys a city. He destroys a city, like, breaks a bridge full of cars. Like, he kills. It has to be thousands and thousands of people.
Oh, it's way more than that.
It could be even millions.
It's happening on the entire planet.
Yeah, it could be millions of people that he kills when he's changing
100%.
He's affecting the magnetic field of Earth itself. And then at the end of the movie, they just let him leave. Like he's free.
He helped stop this.
He helped stop the apocalypse, but he still willingly murdered millions of people. And so that left a really bad taste in my mouth, where it was like, who it doesn't make sense that like him and Charles have like a cute conversation. They're not friends anymore, but Charles like lets him go, and it's like, this guy is a mass murderer now. How can you let him go? He killed so many people, and then they just like, yeah, see you next time, Magneto.
It's pretty wild. That's one of my biggest problems with X-Men Apocalypse, which was, you could say, the direct sequel to X-Men First Class. 47% Rotten Tomatoes, came out in 2016. This is set in 1983. What I like about Apocalypse, though, is we get the expansion of all the powers that we wanted. But yeah, just to stay on Magneto for a little bit in this film, where, like we've been talking about, he's the emotional backstory. It doesn't make sense why he's in hiding, why he's trying to live a normal life. At the end, like you said in First Class, he hates humanity.
At the end of First Class, it seems like he came into his own as Magneto.
He's like Magneto because he does. He puts on the helmet, the purple gear, and he saves Emma Frost from prison to like, now I'm gonna form my ragtag of supervillains. It's gonna be great. But now he's good, and his daughter gets killed. He's questioning his purpose in life. Like, am I a killer? He's like kind of questioning God in a way. You know, he's like screaming up to the skies. He, like I say, he's hiding out in a steel mill until he uses his powers to save a guy, and then he gets found out, and the cops try to take him out, and he kills the cops after they kill his daughter. With Magneto serving as the emotional backbone of the film, it's a mistake, I think, because I think it should have been more focused on Jean Grey. Mm-hmm. Because make her the emotional backbone of X-Men Apocalypse, as well as conflicting with Dark Phoenix inside her until she finally lets it out to defeat Apocalypse, because she saves the world. She defeats Apocalypse at the end of the film. But the whole film, all she does is like hanging out with the teenagers, going to the mall and doing Stranger Things stuff. It's like, what's the point of her being the hero at the end if she has no emotionality for the entire plot of the film?
They cared more about her and Scott meeting and having a connection and a romance than they did actually about like diving into the character.
She should have been the emotional backbone. Her turmoil, like I love the opening sequences of that film where Xavier's Institute has been going on for several years now. He has a bunch of new students. This is one of my favorite versions of Xavier. He's very charming, very intelligent. We see more of his powers, but he has these new students where Cyclops Scott is like the first one shown how he gets his powers through puberty in high school, and then Jean Grey is like sets her bedroom, like starts to melt the walls of her bedroom and stuff like that. So I think it's really interesting showing the origins of these characters that we love so much. But they do it in an interesting way, I think. And again, Professor X is like teaching these young mutants how to control their powers. And the exploration of powers is the best part of Apocalypse because they do a good job of it in Days of Future Past and First Class, where, Xavier helps everyone tap into their potential, even Magneto's potential. And then Days of Future Past, it's like an all-out war with the Sentinels. But then in Apocalypse, after Apocalypse, we'll just call him that, Oscar Isaac's villain.
Yeah, I can't remember his real name.
He starts enhancing everybody's powers. And so we get to see everyone's powers to their fullest abilities. Like, I've always wanted to see like Magneto could move the earth and like could move mountains. And he kind of does to an extent. We get to see more of his powers. Charles, we see more of his powers where he actually freezes entire rooms full of people. He takes memories from people. He controlled their thoughts more, which I've always wanted. Like, I love Patrick Stewart as Xavier and Professor X in the first three, the original three, but he doesn't have a ton of powers besides reading people's minds and using Cerebro, whereas in Apocalypse, we see him do all sorts of great stuff like that. And then Mystique, I like in this film where she's kind of like this hero to like in this underground world of mutants. Both her and Hank are hiding their blue and their true identity. But the thing with Mystique in Apocalypse is she gives like 17 emotional speeches. And I'm like, is she like the captain of the football team? Like, what's going on? Like another Mystique emotional speech.
So many pep talks.
All right, Mystique, I get it.
So many pep talks.
Like too many pep talks. Speaking of mutants, you might need to get your grooming situation under control before you start looking like Beast himself. So get some new products from Manscaped, including their Lawnmower 4.0 groomer. Use our coupon code Raiders of the Lost at checkout for 20% off and free shipping on your entire order today from manscaped.com. Manscaped has also been launching some new products this month, so we just got in their shampoo and 2-in-1 conditioner and also their body wash, which are incredible. They smell great. We've been using them in the shower. I'm telling you, it's so much better than the blue gunk that you get from the other stuff. I don't even know what that's made of. Who knows? And they also have some more stuff coming out, not this year, but in January that they were launching that we can't wait to show you because they're expanding their line to even more male grooming products and just overall health and body products for men. I recommend getting your hands on their new Performance Package 4.0, which is basically just a bundle of stuff like their groomer, their weed whacker, some men's wipes. They have deodorizers, boxer briefs, super comfortable. T-shirts are very comfortable. So join the over 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with their grooming needs with this exclusive offer from us, Raiders of the Lost, at checkout for 20% off and free shipping worldwide from manscaped.com. It's the holiday season. You got to get a gift for the man in your life. Go to Manscaped. I'm telling you, it's stuff he'll actually use. And if you're watching on YouTube or on social media, you may have noticed that Anthony and I have some brand new laptops on our desks. These are courtesy of LG, the LG 17-inch gram ultra lightweight laptops. The cool thing about these laptops is their 16:10 aspect ratio versus 16:9, which means more vertical space. Great for editing, great for note-taking, but most importantly, amazing for watching movies and TV. I just binged the entire show of Succession in like 2 weeks, and I watched it all on my LG gram laptop, and it looks so incredible. The displays are crisp, they're vibrant, they're amazing. Not to mention they're shockingly light. They honestly feel hollow. I can't believe how light they are. It's crazy. Like they float if you let go of them in the air. I'm just kidding. Don't drop your laptop. We'll put links for the 16-inch and 17-inch LG gram laptop models in our YouTube bio. Thank you so much for LG for sponsoring the show.
The big problem with Apocalypse is Apocalypse himself, and it was just like
you want to talk about villains now?
Let's go on villains.
Let's dive on villains.
So Apocalypse as a villain seemed very exciting from the trailer, but poor Oscar Isaac. I mean, I read stories and interviews where he's like he had to wear this giant suit and they had to lubricate it inside of the suit, so he had gel on top of his body, and then he had to wear this super giant heavy suit that he could barely move in, and then like 6 hours of makeup, and ultimately the role was not that great, and the character was just really disappointing. When you have a villain, it's a mistake to make your villain's motivation wanting to enslave the entire world or to destroy the world. His motivation, I was never really behind. I understand that he was worshipped as a god, and now that he's in this new world, he's not a god anymore. He wants to be a god and worshipped. And I mean, that's kind of a decent motivation, but not really. I don't really know anything about the character. And also, his powers, you don't really know what his powers are. It seems like he can just do anything. And if he can do anything, why does he even need 4 horsemen to help him out? He does stuff that is like inexplicable, and it's like, what can't he do? And then yet he still needs help, and most of his scenes are him just standing, talking to other people with his horsemen standing behind him in like a perfect pyramid. And it was just like his character had no development. It was a very uninteresting character. And I love Oscar Isaac, but I think he was stuck in this really bland role.
Yeah, and Sebastian Shaw, who we'll just call Apocalypse. He's the world's first mutant, and his powers are insane. He gains new powers by taking over powers of other mutants. So you can maybe say that was one of his original powers, where he can transfer his consciousness into another mutant to get their powers and absorb everything. So he's probably got this collection of 1,000 different powers or something like that. Who knows how many lifetimes he's lived, how many mutants' powers he's taken. He's a prophesied being, again, the 4 horsemen, which I like the aspect of like the real mythology and
ancient history,
and like mutants are the reason for all those myths and stuff, which is really interesting. Powers are endless. I like the scene where he like learns about the world through like the television and through satellites and stuff like that. And he keeps talking about himself as like a god, and how he calls everyone his children, even mutants he calls his children. He wants to set everybody free. I like how he expands people's powers, because that's what I've always wanted. I've always wanted to see the potential of Storm, especially. I don't love the origin of Storm here, where she starts off as a villain but then becomes good. Like, at the end of the film, she's like, I think I'll stay here at the Institute.
Too much of a turn on a dime.
Yeah, it's like, all right, like, you were just helping try to take over the entire planet. Like, I know he gave you all these extra powers, but still, I do like stuff like that. Storm, we finally see her potential of her powers. And in terms of what Apocalypse does throughout the entire film, is after he learns about humanity and he decides to disarm all countries of their nuclear weapons, what about all the other weapons in the world? Like, yeah, nukes are the most powerful things that countries possess for destruction. They possess plenty of other weapons to use, so why not disarm all weapons, I guess? And, like, again, why does he need 4 horsemen? His powers are limitless.
Why doesn't he just take their powers?
And at the end of the film, it's not like they help him save the day. They all fail in their missions, and they all either betray him or can't win their fights.
Yeah, two of them turned on him. Magneto and Storm turned on him.
He literally spends, Storm starts to fight back. You're right.
And also, in terms of his powers, I understand that he's taken mutants' powers in the past, but it seems as though he always has the perfect power to help him in whatever situation is next. It always is like, the perfect power to like tap into this television and plug into all of technology, and now I can do this and now I can do that. So it seems like it's too like helpful for him.
He's in too much of a rush too.
Yeah. Definitely.
I understand the concept of why he needs the 4 horsemen to like protect him while he does the transfer of his being into another mutant. I get that. Like, he wants to make sure no one messes it up like Nightcrawler does. But, and he finds Professor X, and this is remarkable. This is exactly what I've needed. Access to everybody's brain. I get it. You want it. You want control over everyone's mind. I understand that's what a super evil mutant villain wants to do, to become a full-fledged god. What's the rush? Chill out, build your pyramid, relax, maybe build a couple more pyramids, take over the world, and then, once all the mutants are fully weak, then take Professor X's power. You don't need to, you're impatient, Apocalypse. Take your time. There's no rush. No one can literally stop you.
It happens in like a day and a half. It's ridiculous. He's go.
But before the third act and the final, he just stands around and is like, I found another mutant. Let's come hang out with me. It's like he's collecting Pokemon and never even uses them.
Exactly. And also, if you're gonna try and take over the world, I don't understand. Like, obviously, it would make more sense to try and to corrupt the leaders of the world to be on your side. That would help you in your endeavor to take over everything and to as eventually enslave everyone. I think his lack of using resources and, I mean, even creating allies was kind of just like a missed opportunity.
And the only time we first see his powers used incredibly is when he builds the pyramid out of scratch, which is crazy. His powers are cool, but we only get little glimpses of them. I wish we saw more of what he could do earlier on. He like puts people inside different types of matter and stuff like that, and like sinks them into floors and walls, which is cool. But like, can we see some more stuff?
It reminds me of Thanos. Like, he just has once he has all the gems. What do they call them?
The Infinity Stones?
Infinity Stones.
Huge Marvel head over here. Wow, man.
The gems.
The Infinity gems. He's got the bedazzled bracelet, right? The Michael Jackson bedazzled glove. What's that called? Oh, the gauntlet. Yeah, with the Infinity Stones. Bonehead.
But I think that obviously Apocalypse was, I think, ultimately a disappointing villain. But the movie itself, it does have good moments.
Yeah.
It's not a terrible movie. It had a lot of potential. I think that's ultimately the problem, is the lack of potential. Like, that final battle was just like kind of meh. Whereas you take the villain in the first film, Sebastian Shaw, really fun. Kevin Bacon, great to see him as a bad guy. His first scene is excellent when he finally discovers young Magneto's powers when Eric is a little kid. I really love that scene. It even tops the original scene in X-Men 1, I think.
All right, let's talk about Sebastian Shaw, who is an excellent villain in X-Men First Class. Really good choice, because in the movie universe, he's one of the best villains because he is an actual huge threat to the world. You know, Trask is a threat to mutants, but he doesn't have powers. He's not a mutant. But Sebastian Shaw, I love how we find out eventually that he is a mutant, because at first we think he's just a human when in the Nazi camp. And, you know, he taps into Magneto's potential as a child by killing his mother, which is terrible. And Magneto's journey with being in the prison camp, then you can assume that he worked for the Nazis or was imprisoned and tortured and used by the Nazis for maybe a decade or longer through his entire teenage years.
Well, so the character of Sebastian Shaw is based on a real Nazi who experimented on children and experimented with eugenics, because the Nazis were obsessed with creating the perfect race of human beings in their eyes, the Aryan race. And so they were using all sorts of science and eugenics ideas to try and create a race. And so that essentially is where they jumped off for this character. Really great take.
Yeah, and I love his power where he possesses the ability to absorb energy and transform it into his own raw strength, and he can use that energy however he wants, which is super fascinating and makes him a threat for sure to all the X-Men in the entire world.
Yeah, how do you stop that? It's a great villain.
And also in Origins, and also in First Class, the world doesn't really know about mutants yet, which is really interesting. We get little glimpses of senior officials and governments finding out that mutants exist, which is super fun. I like that a lot because, you know, now they're coming into the world, and we fully see that in Days of Future Past when we go back in time and Mystique is caught on the camera, on the film camera, in her true blue form. But again, Sebastian...
I like the true blue.
Yeah, true blue
it's
form.
like jet blue, true blue.
Although her Mystique's blue is a little too blue in these ones versus...
It's too royal blue?
No, like I like royal blue's darker blue. Like Rebecca Romaine's blue is like that dark blue, which I liked a lot. Whereas Jennifer Lawrence's it's too vibrant, I think.
I think I definitely like the design of Rebecca Romaine's better.
It seems like they streamlined Jennifer Lawrence's Mystique to make it faster so she could do more lines and dialogue, whereas Rebecca Romaine's, it took 9 hours to apply her full Mystique outfit and costume.
Yeah, and also they put Jennifer Lawrence in clothes sometimes, especially in the latter films, so they probably just did her hands and face. So And also, like, Jennifer Lawrence by Dark Phoenix is one of the biggest stars alive, and so she had a lot of sway, so I'm sure she was like, I'm not doing 6 hours of makeup, I'll do an hour and a half of makeup.
Plus, maybe that's one of the reasons why Mystique became such a huge character plot-wise in the rest of the films, because Jennifer Lawrence, I know she's huge now, but she was like the biggest actress on the planet for like 10 years that entire decade.
Jennifer Lawrence made $65 million in 1 year.
That's insane.
$65 million.
Oscar winner, all sorts of great movies. So, like, she was a superstar when these films were coming out.
I also think that's why she was killed so early in Dark Phoenix, because I think ultimately Mystique is a great role, but you could say maybe Jennifer Lawrence was tired of it. You know, it's a lot of work.
Oh, you can tell.
And
she didn't want to be there.
Yeah, by the fourth time around, all that makeup, I think it was getting to her. That's why she's always wearing clothes in Dark Phoenix, and she's killed off so soon. I think Jennifer Lawrence might have been like, just kill me off. Just kill me. And so my guess is that's why she died so early in Dark Phoenix.
That's what I assume. She's like, I don't want to do this anymore.
She's like, I don't have to do 10 hours of makeup for 6 months anymore. I'm done.
I'm Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah, I'm Jennifer. Exactly.
But Sebastian Shaw, again, a great villain, and he's got Emma Frost, who is an iconic comic book character from the X-Men franchise. She has great powers. She's a telepath like Xavier, except not as powerful of a telepath. But she can also create herself into a diamond form, so which means increased strength and durability. From what I've read, the comic fans were disappointed with the film's portrayal of her. But I think January Jones did a terrific job. And I think Kevin Bacon is awesome in this movie as Sebastian Shaw.
Yeah, I think January Jones was over-sexualized is what the biggest problem with the character is. Emma Frost is just always showing cleavage in tight outfits and showing a lot of skin. So I think that was the biggest con to her character.
Well, her comic book character always does like wear like a crop top or a bra, so she's always showing a lot of skin in the comics. But again, it's a movie; it's different. You don't have to do the exact interpretation.
I think it was a little too much of that.
I think so too, because and then the scenes of the woman with the lingerie, it's like there's a little too much sexualization.
Yeah,
going
exactly.
On this.
So there's
Rose Byrne, like there's no reason for her to like do that either.
It's like in Star Trek Into Darkness.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Like she just like I can't remember the actress's name. Alice Eve. She had to go in a bra and underwear for no reason. She just took her clothes off
for the trailer. For the trailer,
and it was just like trying to get some sex appeal for people. But I mean, I think that studios don't understand. Like people just want to see the superheroes. Like I know young boys want to watch these movies because of the superheroes. You know,
yeah.
If you want to throw sex into a movie, throw it into another movie that doesn't already have a huge fan base. You know what I mean? They don't need to do that in these. The appeal is already there. You know what I mean?
All right, and so Sebastian Shaw, he's using the Cuban Missile Crisis to get power over nations, and he wants the missiles of Russia to be put in Cuba to create a war, and he wants to be the heart of that war.
It's a great setup because you throw in the Cold War aspect, plus the War Room, which is obviously an exact homage replica of Stanley Kubrick's War Room, which is a lot of fun. It's the exact same set. I thought that was really great by Matthew Vaughn, paying homage to that. And ultimately, it's a great blend of political drama into a superhero film. It's probably the best that's been done in terms of throwing politics into a movie and international disputes. They did a really great job pulling it off, and I really love the third act of this movie when the mutants are trying to stop it, and then eventually Charles gets a hold of Sebastian Shaw and freezes him, and Magneto, this is when Magneto shows his true colors. It's a really amazing scene where Charles thinks that Magneto is going to, incapacitate Sebastian Shaw, but his plan is to kill the man who killed his mother. And it's a great moment where Charles, he decides to just keep holding on to Shaw while Magneto slowly pushes a quarter, that same coin, right through his skull. And Matthew Vaughn did a great shot where he did exact replica shots of the camera tracking across Sebastian Shaw's head and Charles Xavier's head, showing that Charles seems to be experiencing the pain that Sebastian Shaw would be feeling if he wasn't frozen. So I really love that moment.
Yeah, it's one of the best death scenes in the entire franchise.
Yeah.
And Magneto in general is such a badass in X-Men First Class. He's always a badass, but this one in particular, like the themes that he has, his music.
It's a Nazi hunter.
It's so cool.
His music's great. I love the guitar theme.
It's incredible. And so I think Eric and Charles' relationship is so well explored in all these films, and I think Xavier's biggest mistake with Eric is he underestimates the evil and the rage that fulfills Magneto's mind at all times, and he thinks he can help him suppress it, but he never can. Let's talk about Trask as the villain in X-Men Days of Future Past, and so
this is Peter Dinklage coming off of Game of Thrones fame.
Excellent villain, Peter Dinklage, very memorable in the entire franchise because he's the one who is responsible for creating the Sentinels, which created this post-apocalyptic world that the mutants are currently living in.
And I love the character. He did a really great job with the role. Peter Dinklage is a super talented actor, and he obviously won several Emmys and Golden Globes, so I think he was a great choice for a villain, also a surprising choice. And I read that Peter Dinklage even said that when he got the role, he said that he considers himself to be kind of a mutant because he said with my dwarfism, I myself I'm a bit of a mutant. I can't move metal or anything, but I thought of it as like a self-loathing perception of myself. Deep down, Trask is quite sensitive about the aspect of his size. So I think that he brought that to the character, and I think he was a perfect choice for a villain.
Yeah, and so Trask wants to eliminate all mutants in the entire world. Just another, one of these government agency heads who just wants his program funded, and he has the Sentinel program. And he's creating these giant robots to defend the world and defend America against mutants, because most of the governments of the world think that mutants are a danger to society, and they have to somehow prevent themselves from becoming extinct, because they know that evolution means that the previous species are gonna die. There's a reason why Homo sapiens are the only walking mammals on Earth on their 2 feet, because the previous evolution of humans gone. They're gonzo player. As soon as Homo sapiens came into the action, who knows what happened to them? Maybe Homo sapiens took them out. We'll never know that.
And this film did a great job of paralleling the American military complex that, Americans have always been struggling with over the past 60, 70 years. And in terms of, the Sentinel program, of America funding a program to fight our supposed enemies, which is something, media and government has told us time and time again, to fund these wars against these apparent enemies, which they themselves kind of create out of thin air. This happened so many times, and I think that this film did a great job of illustrating that problem within our own country really brilliantly.
Yeah, and Trask is a great villain, but his Sentinels are the ultimate weapon. I love the opening of this movie. They get right into it, right into the action. We have the sequence of Kitty Pryde putting Bishop back in time to be able to warn them of when Sentinels are coming so they can prepare to leave. It's a really interesting concept. And the Sentinels themselves are some of the most terrifying villain soldiers you'll ever see in a comic book movie or a superhero movie. They're perfect killing machines for mutants. And they've used, or Trask, after he captured Mystique, who has tried to assassinate him, Mystique does assassinate him. And it speeds up the Sentinel program that Trask was creating, and they use her as a test subject, all of her DNA and all of her body, her cells to figure out, in her genes, to create the Sentinels, who become perfect killing machines of mutants, because they can adapt to mutants and be the perfect counter to whatever their powers are.
I really love the opening of this movie. It feels like it's like Terminator-esque, this dystopian future where some kind of hyper technological villain is just like taking over the entire world, and the last survivors are barely getting by day. I really love the setup, and it's really smart setup where they show an example of, it's like a young kid, he finds like a little badge of an X-Men badge in the rubble of some destroyed building, and then a Sentinel finds him and kills him. It's a perfect example, 1 minute, of showing you what this world is. I think it was a really well-written and well-directed opening.
And also, we get a real quick glimpse at great powers being used. Like, we see Iceman, we see Pyro, we see
full potential
past enemies who are working together. But also, even though we see their incredible powers on display, it's hopeless. It's futile. They don't stand a chance against the Sentinels, and the best they can do is quickly try to get through the situation with Kitty Pryde and Bishop surviving.
Yeah. And the thing with Days of Future Past is, I think that it's a highlight for Xavier's character, because what I really love about the prequels is how we saw the origins, because origin stories can be hit or miss, and I think they did a great job with both Eric and Charles' origin stories. And in terms of Charles, in First Class, what's great is that they made Charles the opposite of what you expected of him, because Patrick Stewart's Xavier is a wise, experienced man, very humble, filled with humility, great leader, very modest. But in First Class, he's this rowdy womanizer. He loves to drink, and he loves to, use his powers at his advantage to, sleep with women and help him in any situation. And he's kind of like a fun-loving, having a good time kind of person. I really love how that's the starting off point for Charles. And then in Days of Future Past, because of the events of the first film, him losing his ability to walk and then becoming reliant on the medication that Hank created, he's an alcoholic. He wants to escape his past. He wants to basically run away from everything, and he's at his lowest point. And it's great because old Xavier, when he's talking to Logan before he goes back in time, he's like, I was a different man back then, and I'm going to need you like you needed me. And you don't really know what that means. And then the first scene you see of Charles, and he's like an absolute wreck, alcoholic, kicks Logan out immediately. I thought it was a really great turn for the character.
Yeah, and he's suppressing his powers. And, I think one of my favorite scenes in the entire movie of Days of Future Past is when young Charles talks to old Charles, who's in the present timeline, and it's really great. You know, it's kind of like the grandfather paradox. Like, could he have possibly got his life together if he didn't speak to the old version of himself in this future timeline? If Wolverine didn't go back in time to get him to do this stuff? It's really interesting.
Yeah.
But before we go on more of that stuff,
before we continue any further, I got to tell you all about movieposters.com, the #1 place to get your posters online today. We just did an amazing movie posters giveaway contest. Our fan Renee Moreno won a free poster, and he chose Dark Knight. Movieposters.com is sending that over to him ASAP. We're going to do another poster giveaway sometime in the near future, but in the meantime, head on over to movieposters.com and use our special promo code Raiders10 to get 10% off your order today. Movieposters.com has an amazing selection of movie posters, all sorts of sizes, framing, backlighting, pretty much every film and TV show imaginable, they have it in their stock. So again, head on over to movieposters.com and use our promo code Raiders10 to get 10% off your order today. We have another amazing sponsor for all you screenwriters or people who are getting into screenwriting. You have to use ArcStudio Pro. It is the most efficient, streamlined, and elegant screenwriting software on the market. They have teamed up with us to offer a special deal of $30 off their membership. All you have to do is follow our link, arcstudiopro.com/Raiders. Again, arcstudiopro.com/Raiders to get that special deal. Perfect formatting when they're writing a script. They have these amazing features like apps for your desktop and phone, online collaboration with co-writers, super helpful outlining tools, revisionist management, and even links to feedback. Again, follow our link, arcstudiopro.com/Raiders to get $30 off your membership and start writing today.
how about we dive into our intermission?
Let's do it.
Take a little break from superpowers and X-Men. We'll start with the movie quote competition. I have two, one from a fan, one from me. You break my record, now I break you like I did to your friend.
You break my record.
This is from Nightthrax.
What's Nightthrax?
The
person. I was like, what movie is that?
Nightthrax is an X-Man.
I don't know.
It's from Bloodsport.
Oh, great
Classic.
one. Good one.
All right, this one's for me. Look at this. Look at what they make you give.
Good impression.
Thanks.
Clive Owen in Born Identity.
Nice, dude. Wow. I can't believe we've never done the Bourne movies because
we have to.
We've seen them so many goddamn times.
Yeah.
Like, we've actually watched the Bourne movies like a lot when we were kids.
They're some of our most watched movies.
Them, 100 times each or something like that.
Do y'all want to see a Bourne series?
Oh, they absolutely do.
I would love to do it. I would love to do it.
All right, your turn.
All right, I have one from a fan. This is from Wayne Bickford. Oh, wait, this is a quiz. I'll get to that at the quiz point. So here's my quote. At age 11, I audited my parents. Believe me, there was some discrepancy, and I was grounded.
Oh, this is a good one. I actually got the poster on my wall. Royal Tenenbaums.
Nah.
No? Oh, shit. Whoops. Wait.
Let me say it again. You're so confident.
I thought it was Ben Stiller's character in
Nah.
Royal Tenenbaums.
At age 11, I audited my parents. Believe me, there were some discrepancies, and I was grounded. His character does something similar in that
that's
movie.
What,
But that's not his. He doesn't say that.
I got mixed up because the montage of the kids when they're young, it's just like Ben Stiller's character. I can't remember.
It's Will Ferrell and the other guys.
Oh my god. Man.
Alan Gamble.
Wow, I was way too arrogant.
Good
right
guess.
there.
It was a good guess.
I thought 100%.
Yeah. When you said your poster, I'm like, it's
because he sues his dad.
Yeah, he sued his dad. That's what it was.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Similar. All right, guess this movie release year. Winter's Bone.
Good movie. That was
great
Jennifer Lawrence's breakout
film.
I'm gonna go with 2010.
Nice.
Yes.
Got it.
Oh yeah.
Good job.
Thank you. Saw that with Mom.
Oh yeah, we did. That's right. Excellent movie.
Here's my movie release year. The Scorpion King.
2003.
2002.
Oh.
Just off.
All right, movie pop quiz time. Michael Fassbender has 2 Oscar nominations for acting. What films are they for?
12 Years a Slave.
Yep.
And Inglourious Bastards.
Steve Jobs.
Oh, Steve Jobs.
He's so good in that movie.
Yeah, he's great. He was really great. It was actually, that movie was supposed to, originally it was set up to be David Fincher directing and Christian Bale starring as Steve Jobs.
Oh wow, that would have been really good.
But Sony didn't want to pay David Fincher enough money.
Anyways,
all right, here's a quiz question from Wayne Bickford. Who was the actor that appeared in both Terminator and True Lies? Not Arnold Schwarzenegger. What other actor?
Terminator and True Lies?
Yep.
Bill Paxton?
Yeah.
Nice.
Good one.
Nice.
He's great in True Lies. He's so funny.
Yeah.
I love him in it.
Oh, yeah, he's his partner, right?
No. He plays the guy who's trying to sleep with his wife.
Oh,
Pretending to be a secret agent.
That's right. Right.
He's awesome. He's got the mustache and like the nice car. It's great.
All right. Who's our hater of the week?
I got a quiz.
Oh, you got a quiz?
What was Dwayne Johnson's first acting role? It was a TV series. It was a very small role. It was a comedy series.
Was it like a popular show?
Very popular show. Very, very popular.
Sitcom?
Yeah, it's a sitcom. It's not like a CBS sitcom.
It's not like Friends.
Yeah, it's not like Friends, but it's still it was a very funny comedy show. We watched it.
Wow, what would that?
It was his first acting role that wasn't him on like television as a wrestler.
Wow. It's not voice work for like.
No, yeah, he's appeared on screen, and his character's name was Rocky Johnson.
I mean, I don't know, man.
That 70s show.
That 70s show?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, he played a guy who was a wrestler on the show.
What episode?
I didn't write down the episode name.
Wow, it must have been like the first season or something like that.
It was the early 2000s.
Yeah. Man, I love that show.
Yeah.
We used to watch that after school all the time. It was always on at like 4 o'clock and during the week.
We would watch cartoons and then that 70s show is what we would do. We would like watch Dragon Ball Z and then that 70s show.
No, Dragon Ball Z was when like we were in middle school.
That's true, yeah. High school was, you're right.
Yeah.
We changed. We grew up.
We grew up
big time.
We went from Dragon Ball Z to that 70s show. And Seinfeld. We were more mature, all right? All right, haters of the week, what do we got?
So we had a really bad hater. I posted a clip about Star Wars, about Anakin, and Kid Icarus. I had to block this guy because he was going to give us some... He was probably going to flag us and give us a bad review. But he wrote, I love how these videos use this for views. Like it's a fake story from a drunk guy making movies he copied from everyone else. Sad. And then I wrote, at least I get views. And he said, you're just mad because it's true. And he spelled your Y-O-U-R. And I wrote Y-O-U''RE**.
Nice, dude. Burn. Sick burn, bruh.
Yeah, it's so sad that we're making videos.
That comment makes no sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
Some drunk guy came up with the movie.
I don't know what he was saying.
What is he talking about?
And then I went on his TikTok, and he has like hundreds of videos of him obviously trying to get famous, and he only gets like 50, 60 views per video.
Poor guy.
So he's
Poor guy.
Yeah, I was just like, get out of here, bro. And then we have a unsubscribed hater in our movie news episode from last Sunday. Valerie Bubbles wrote, you didn't say Predator Origins. Unsubscribed when we were talking about the origin.
Prequel.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I don't know how
we missed that.
Yeah, we did miss it.
We're usually on with those.
Well, actually, if you think about it, like a Predator Origins movie would have to take place on like the Predator planet.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe that'll come next. Predator Origins planet. All right. Our top supporters of this episode are 2 amazing 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts, aka iTunes. The first one was from Parker Palisak. Sorry if I mispronounced that. This is by far the best movie podcast or podcast in general that I have ever listened to, with 2 hosts that have an actual knowledge of film overall. It only makes this podcast more enjoyable and rewarding to listen to. Keep up the good work, guys. You are killing it. P.S. When you get the chance, please check out and talk about The Last of Us video games. In terms of plot, character, themes, and much more, it is one of the best storylines of all time. Please check it out or I will unsubscribe. JK, love you guys.
We're going to buy a video game console now.
And then from TX Diesel, my new favorite podcast. This podcast is awesome. I love finding out behind-the-scenes details. Keep up the great work, or I'll unsubscribe. Your friend from West Texas. Thanks so much for those amazing reviews, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
What else do we got? So, on this day in film and TV history, November 18th is today's date. In 1928, Walt Disney's Steamboat Willie was released, the first Mickey Mouse sound cartoon. In 1959, Ben-Hur premieres. In 1992, Malcolm X, directed by Spike Lee, starring Denzel Washington and Angela Bassett, is released in the U.S. In 1994, Star Trek Generations is premiered, starring Patrick Stewart.
That's a TV show, right? Yeah.
I believe it was the film no, it's a movie.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. They'd made a couple movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then happy birthday to Owen Wilson.
Oh, wow. It's my birthday.
Wow. My streaming recommendation is Big Daddy on Amazon Prime. It's just a good time.
It's called The Hunt on Amazon Prime, and it is a great Dutch film starring the excellent Mads Mikkelsen. Amazing movie.
I read somewhere, or someone left a comment where you just say Mad, not Mads. Like Mad Mikkelsen.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's Denmark. Mad. Okay, so you don't say the S?
I think it's pronounced Mad.
Mad Mikkelsen.
Mad Mikkelsen.
Mad Mikkelsen.
Someone said something like that in a comment. I looked it up. I think it was correct. It was like,
It sounds, I don't know anything about Danish.
I like Danish. It's one of my favorite desserts.
The dessert is great. Excellent dessert.
All right, let's get back into the X-Men episode. That just made me hungry. Now let's finish up with the villains and talk about the villain in Dark Phoenix, which the full villain, the big baddie, is Vuk, or is it Vuk?
Fuck.
Is it?
Oh, I gotta double check the spelling.
It's Vuk.
Vuk. Yeah, Vuk.
It's like super bad.
I think it's
We
Vuk.
actually arrested somebody whose name was legally fuck. It was with a PH.
Let's say Vuk so we don't get in trouble and flagged on
we'll
YouTube.
say Vuk.
Yeah.
So Vuk, who is a shape-shifting alien leader of the Debari, and Vuk uses the alias of Margaret Smith, played by Jessica Chastain, to seem appear human or seem appear like a mutant or whatever. And Vuk's goal is to obviously kill the X-Men, but Vuk will also manipulate and corrupt Jean Grey so that she, with the Phoenix Force and the power that she has inside of her, turns Earth into a new planet for the Debari. So basically
Terraforming.
Man of Steel.
Terraforming.
With an alien instead of a giant machine.
Again, the stakes are so big. And apparently, so they originally filmed that she was going to be a Skrull from Captain Marvel, the same kind of alien race, a Skrull, that the shape-shifting green aliens. But because Captain Marvel did it first, and technically both studios have the rights to those characters, Fox had to change it, do reshoots because they didn't want to confuse anyone, and so they changed Jessica Chastain's character from a Skrull to this other alien race. So that, and then they did like 2 months of reshoots to change it all.
It's called Skrull.
Skrull. I'm sorry.
Did you even see Captain Marvel?
I saw it.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not a comic book guy.
Goddamn man. Can't even get the Skrull right.
Ben Mendelsohn's a man. He plays the lead Skrull.
Yeah, he's a Skrull. Not a Krull. Was it a Krull or donut?
You and the desserts today. James has the biggest sweet tooth I've ever seen in my life.
It's pretty bad.
He's always like, I need some chocolate or I need something sweet.
Not always. I need to have something sweet to end my night. I need to go to bed having something sweet.
Sounds like you have an eating disorder.
It's not an eating disorder. It's called being a fat kid at heart and being a fat kid when I was a child.
Oh my god, that's funny. But anyways,
at least I got Skrull right.
After you looked at it online.
Nuh-uh.
Tell me you didn't look at it.
I was double checking.
While I was talking, I saw you staring at your screen for 20 seconds straight.
Because I needed confirmation. See, I like to look up facts and do my research.
You didn't know 100%.
I wanted to 100% know that I was correct. I knew it was Skrull. That's why I looked it up. I said, it's definitely not Skrull. There's definitely an S in there. He's missing an S. Let me double check to make sure I'm correct.
Whatever, man.
See, I like to look up the information.
Anyways,
on Google.
Misinformation.
Skrull.
I love Jessica Chastain. She's one of my favorite actors. But again, this movie has another villain problem. And again, they messed up the Dark Phoenix saga story because
For the third time.
in this film, the Jean Grey character in this series, she didn't have the split personality. It was more of her being corrupted and struggling with her past, especially her causing her mother's death by accident when she was a child. I think it's a great opening scene. This movie has a very strong opening.
Yeah, it's very grounded, the story.
And it opens with Jean Grey in the backseat of her car, the little kid, and she accidentally causes the car to crash, kills her mother, and then ultimately her father blames her for her mother's death, and that causes the emotional trauma within her even more so. And that's what really breaks her from reality and begins allowing the Phoenix power to unleash within her. but it didn't have the split personality persona that I think the Jean Grey character should have.
Which they talked about in the first trilogy.
Exactly. So I think that not having that aspect to the character was a misstep in terms of portraying Jean Grey properly. And then Jessica Chastain's character, again, reminds you of Apocalypse, where like she has this unbelievable power and strength, kind of unexplained and just like a little, again, too repetitive for what the powers of the villain is.
Yeah, and again, Apocalypse was the perfect opportunity to explore the Dark Phoenix the correct way, I think, with making her the counter to Apocalypse with the powers to defeat Apocalypse, but also have her going through that split personality disorder kind of going on with Jean and the Dark Phoenix inside of her, have that be the emotional backbone of the film, and then have her at the end with a showdown versus Apocalypse, rather than everybody fights Apocalypse and everyone does stuff except for Jean Grey. She never really uses her powers too much besides to mess with people's minds when we're running around trying to be secretive and like the plant inside the trucks and the helicopter and stuff like that. Aside from that, she doesn't really do much of anything until Professor X is like, Jean, open it up. Let's go. Let's do this. Kill Apocalypse. Unleash your powers. And it's like the last 5 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, exactly. And then in Dark Phoenix, she absorbs the Phoenix Force in space. And this is where they could have been like, the Phoenix Force is its own personality battling Jean within the mind, trying to gain control. Like Smeagol and Gollum, having these two minds within the body of Jean Grey, the new Phoenix Force mind. I think that would have been a really great take on the character.
Yeah, just make Jean the big bad. Yeah. It's okay. We don't need like a separate storyline, separate villains to make you empathize with Jean Grey or the Dark Phoenix. The Dark Phoenix is a great villain if it's just Dark Phoenix. I think I don't know why in 3 movies they didn't do it.
It makes it really.
They always get thrown in a bunch of other ones.
Yeah, so I think it was another disappointing, underwhelming part of this franchise. Although there is some good action in this movie, I think that Simon Kinberg did a good job of making the action more gritty, especially in terms of Magneto. Like that scene, the fight on the train, the way he's fighting the soldiers, he's like ripping apart metal, bashing it into people, and like you see a lot of like on-screen violence that you never really saw, like people getting stabbed or like a giant chunk of metal like going into someone's chest. I like that aspect to the action. I think he really made it a lot more gritty, which was a benefit to this film for sure.
And I do like how when Jean and Magneto are going at it, and we see how powerful Jean is compared to even Magneto, who is a super powerful being. And for him, he's having so much, he's struggling.
Performance issues.
He's struggling. He's not having performance issues. You can just see he's struggling just to keep up with Jean, who's like doing everything with ease. So we see how truly powerful she really is compared to someone like Magneto.
Yeah, so again, there are good elements to this movie. And now I feel like this is the fully formed Professor X at the start of Dark Phoenix because he lost his hair in Apocalypse because of like the blending that was going on when Apocalypse was trying to take over his consciousness.
He needs to get some Propecia or something, bro.
No, it just came right out. You got rid of the like Apocalypse. That's the problem. If you want to be Apocalypse, you gotta be bald. That's the issue. So I think that in Dark Phoenix, Xavier has finished his growth.
Shouldn't he have no eyebrows? Just kidding. Sorry.
He doesn't have alopecia. He's just got balding. You know. But yeah, technically that should have happened. But I think that Eric is still going through transformation, which I think was a mistake in terms of the trajectory of the franchise. I think if Xavier is his fully formed self, Magneto should be his fully formed self too.
Same thing with Jean Grey. They seem to be so afraid to make Dark Phoenix the main villain. Like they're so afraid to make Eric and Magneto a fully fledged villain in all the prequel films. It's like all 4 films were dealing with the moral ambiguity of Magneto. Like we get it. He's a complicated character. He's complex. He's probably the most interesting in terms of character development and plot-wise, but just make him a bad guy in one of them.
Yeah, I mean, in X2, it gets to the point where Magneto tricks everyone and he's trying to kill every human alive. That's what you wanted, but you never got that extent of Magneto in the prequels.
Even though we thought that's what was going to happen after First Class, because at the end of First Class, he tries to kill all those other humans on the ships when he's redirecting the missiles. Obviously, he stops because Rose Byrne's character, Moira, she shoots bullets at him, which he deflects and accidentally hits Professor X in the back, rendering him paralyzed from the waist down. That's the only thing that stops him from killing all the humans on those ships. Otherwise, he would have killed them all.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about Magneto. Now he's fully formed, and it seems like when they went into writing for Apocalypse, they're like, let's go back in time and have him seem ambiguous again. We'll give him a family so he's a good guy, and he gets bad and corrupted again, but then redeems himself.
They kept trying to make him a heroic figure, where in the original trilogy, he's not heroic. He's a villain, but he's a great anti-hero, and he has a lot of gray area, but he still is a fully fledged villain in those movies.
But what I do like, and what I think is great with Magneto and becoming a villain, is we learn the origins of him, obviously at the concentration camps and everything he went through, and how he was turned into a villain by the people who controlled him.
Oh, yeah,
by
definitely.
the Nazis, which is great. We understand that, and that's what makes you empathize with the character. But, at some point, I think just make him a big bad. Just make him fully evil, make him full-form Magneto, which we got in 3 movies.
I think it could have worked great if Apocalypse was actually Magneto's villain movie, and he was killed by Jean Grey, and then Jean Grey is the solo villain in the last one, in Dark Phoenix. I think that could have worked really well.
Worked better.
Yeah.
I mean, because you can kill them off because it doesn't really matter with the movies have 3 different dimensions and storylines.
Yeah.
Because in Days of Future Past, once Logan successfully does everything and prevents the Sentinel program from being started, obviously with the help of Mystique, everything seems like honky-dory and the best. I want to watch a movie of that X-Men universe where Scott's alive, Jean's alive, they're all hanging out, Logan's a professor. It seems like a really warm ending.
The ending of Days of Future Past it's my favorite ending of all the movies because it's a happy ending. You know what I mean? All these characters got, Jean Grey is still just Jean Grey. When Logan returns to his mind returns to his body, and Xavier's realizes that the Logan from the future is finally back in his body, and he's like, let me fill you in on, and he's like, I need to, some filling in on the last 20 years. Scott's there. They have that great scene where Logan's about to touch Jean Grey, and then Scott grabs his hand. He's like, easy, Tiger.
He's like, it's good to see you. Scott's like, okay.
So I really love that ending to Days of Future Past, and I think that the conclusion in the Dark Phoenix film just was not even comparable to that ending.
Well, you could also say that Days of Future Past becomes a big bad villain film for Magneto. Actually, I want to retract what I was saying earlier. So this one, he becomes full villain.
I didn't want to correct
you. He becomes full villain. You can correct me, man. It's okay.
That's what. Well, we already talked about it earlier.
Yeah, because he puts all the metal inside the Sentinels, and he gets control over the Sentinels to try to destroy and take over the humanity in the world, and broadcast himself that it's time for mutants to rise up. Yeah, so he does become a big bad for sure.
But he's with the heroes for most of that movie. Yeah. Where I want a movie where Fassbender's Magneto is the big bad of the entire movie.
For sure.
That's what I wanted.
Because he is bad, in this timeline where he's in the Pentagon and they have to break him out, but he does have the ambiguity where Charles is trying to convert him back to the Force, the good side.
Yeah, and then Quicksilver has always been a highlight of the movies he's in, but I will say that in Dark Phoenix, they did another Quicksilver scene. It just wasn't the same during the space shuttle when it's exploding. And it's another great slow-mo scene where he saves everyone inside the ship, but it doesn't even compare to the Quicksilver scene in Days of Future Past and the Quicksilver scene in Apocalypse, which are both really great, visually stunning, so well directed, and very funny. The Apocalypse Quicksilver scene is hysterical. It's so much fun.
Yeah. I love the Days of Future Past one where this is where Quicksilver this is the one where he stops. No, this is where
breaks out
Magneto of the Pentagon. Awesome scene and sequence where he does that with them. He's super fun. And then the other one is when he saves everyone from the explosion at the Xavier Institute besides his brother, who was at the center of the blast radius.
And that one's funnier, especially the shot where he grabs Hank and then Hank's face is just frozen with this funny face.
Yeah.
His skin's flapping.
I think the funniest part is the dog with the pizza.
Oh, yeah. So that one's super funny. And the Quicksilver scenes in both those movies were highlights of the movies, but then the Quicksilver scene in Dark Phoenix kind of just not really that memorable, honestly.
Yeah, but I love Quicksilver. I wish he was used more for sure. Yeah. I also wish in Apocalypse he used in Magneto's emotional backbone storyline where he's Magneto's son, we learn.
Yeah.
But I was disappointed that Quicksilver never tells Magneto that he's his son. You think he's going to tell him, and obviously I think if he tells him sooner, the day would be saved quicker, probably. But it was really disappointing that Quicksilver never told Magneto because Magneto went full bad because of the death of his family. but now he still has family. He doesn't know it yet, but he has a son.
That's what I mean. That was a mistake with the Magneto storyline for sure. Now, before Disney bought Fox, they had conditions for, Fox using Quicksilver. One of the conditions was not revealing that Magneto was his father. So that's why you don't find out until Dark Phoenix, when Disney already owned Fox. So I think the filmmakers wanted to show that in Days of Future Past, but they weren't allowed to by Disney.
And probably, does that have to do with Deadpool and the little cameo of all the X-Men, including Quicksilver
Exactly.
and the Xavier Institute?
That's why there's only a couple of characters in that cameo. And that's why Wanda Maximoff's not in it. Although you see the Maximoff mailbox, he's holding his little sister. They don't say her name as Wanda.
Gotcha.
Because of the co-ownership with Disney and Fox at the time of the characters.
Yeah. Let's talk about Mystique for a little bit, because she has a ton to do in this prequel franchise. Well, the first 3 films for sure. And I like the first one because we get the origins of Mystique, Magneto, and Charles. And
we get
learn
little Mystique.
little baby Mystique, little kid Mystique, super cutie, and then little Charles, and Mystique was trying to steal from Charles as a kid.
Rich Charles. Rich over here.
We learned he's got a ton of money. Like that
He
institute,
didn't build that institute. He just
grew
owned
up in it. He grew up in that place. Like, man, must be nice, bro. At least he uses his wealth for good things, though.
That's true.
You know, he's helping the world.
Yeah.
He's trying to create peace among humans and mutants. But I love that moment, and we learn how they grew up together as like brother and sister in a way, but also in X-Men Days of Future Past when they're adults. It seems like Mystique always is trying to get Charles to like look at her, like recognize her, maybe intimately. Like she's asked, like, would you date me? But because she wants someone to accept her for who she truly is when she's true blue. It sounds like a hair dye, like True Blue today. L'Oreal. Color yourself in your kitchen. Mystique. And so Mystique, she's constantly also with Hank, going back and forth with wanting to hide from the world with her blonde human form as Jennifer Lawrence, or showing her true blue form to the world, which she's not fully comfortable with. And her and Hank in X-Men First Class are excited about the potential of him creating that serum where they can hide their true identities. But I think with the influence of Eric on Mystique in the first film in X-Men First Class, where she starts to embrace who she truly is, whereas Xavier thought it best for her to hide that from the world, Magneto tells her that she should never hide that and she's perfect.
It's a great scene where it's a contrasting of scenes where Mystique, she kind of goes on to Charles and ask basically, would you be intimate with me, or would you date me? And Charles is like, you're like my sister. And then also, he wouldn't. It's the form that also is an issue with him. Whereas,
because the first thing he says as blue.
Yeah, as blue. And then when she does it to Eric, in contrast, he says, first of all, she's too young, which is why he wouldn't be with her. Which is a really noble way of looking at it, because she's like, that's the only reason. Like, it's because of my age. And then she turns into the human Jennifer Lawrence form, and an older version.
It's Rebecca Romaine.
Yeah. And she's like, how about now? And he's like, I would only want to be with the real Mystique, the real one. And then she turns to her real form, the blue form, True Blue. and then he calls her perfection. And so he's the first person to ever accept who she really is.
Well, Charles does when they're children, like when he tells her, like,
his immediate reaction.
You don't have to hide. And then he sees her blue, and she's like, you're not afraid of me? He's like, of course I'm not afraid of you. You look awesome.
Is that True Blue?
But again, he doesn't accept her like in adulthood as
intimately,
as like a
he also thinks
like a partner.
He encourages her to hide herself.
Yeah,
he's part of that problem and conflict within her.
Just like Hank, and she's very flirtatious with Hank, and obviously they got something going on. But it's really Eric who catches her eye eventually, because he wants her to be true to herself and mutant and proud.
Yeah, and when I really love the creation of Beast in this movie, where he wants to create the serum to hide his feet, because right now at this point of his mutation, only his feet are really a beast-like form, and they aren't even blue. And then when he gives himself the serum, his entire body changes and he becomes blue. I really love the creation, because he's trying to fix himself, and Mystique is trying to make him realize this is your true self. This is who you were always meant to be. Like, this is your full mutation in complete effect.
Yeah, and this is when Raven stops going by Raven and starts to become Mystique. When they all start to give themselves their fun names.
Oh yeah, this is great.
The cast of X-Men First Class is really good too. There's a ton of other
A
characters.
lot of young actors.
Zoe Kravitz is in this.
Caleb Landry Jones.
Morgan Lilly, Rose Byrne, Beth Goddard. She plays Xavier's mother. Lawrence Belcher. The dude from Get Out is in this as well. The brother. Caleb
Landry. Said it.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's his name. Nicholas Hoult is obviously phenomenal. Eli Gathegi. So really, really good young cast in this movie of the young mutants.
Yeah, they did a great ensemble. Fun to see someone like Zoe Kravitz so young and in a major role. And I think I was kind of missing some of them in the next movies. You know what I mean? You never saw Zoe Kravitz again. You never saw a couple of these characters again. So that was kind of underwhelming that you didn't see them again show up.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that for sure.
And also, I think Bishop is a character that should have been shown in this one. Psylocke could have been good to see earlier on. So I think that their choice of mutants in First Class, I think that there were a few that weren't shown that they probably should have thrown in earlier.
And again, back to Mystique, X-Men Days of Future Past, again, arguably one of the lead characters. She's dealing with the fact that she's trying to take out Trask. She's trying to save the mutant race. She has a very Magneto-esque role, but a different way about it. You know, she wants to stop and save mutants. You know, Trask is experimenting on them and trying to take their powers and create the Sentinel program. Mystique wants to kill Trask, but she doesn't understand, and it's a bit naive that she thinks that just because she kills one man that everything would stop and all mutants would be saved. She doesn't get what the impact of her actions will have, like the other characters know will happen because Logan's been sent back in time.
Yeah, it's ironic because the Sentinel program was already rejected, but then her killing Trask is what motivates the government to finally approve it.
Yeah, trying
to kill him. So that is ultimately, ironically, what caused the government to fund the program.
Well, yeah, so she kills Trask before Logan was back, but she fails the assassination attempt.
Yeah.
And her getting caught on film is basically the world's unmasking a revelation that mutants exist. So she becomes the face of mutants in a way, which carries over into X-Men Apocalypse, where now she's a hero to mutants because now they see someone like them in the world, and she's powerful, and she's someone that all these mutants look up to as a hero. And like a lot of them talk about how she changed their lives, and she's running this she's part of this like underworld smuggling of mutants to get them to safety, sort of like maybe a reference to the Underground Railroad in America. But yeah, the speeches are a bit much. There's again 17 pep talks that Mystique gives, and by the fifth one, I'm like, is she doing it again? Like, Jesus, how many do we need? Like, I love her, but goddamn,
do they really need this much motivation?
And it ends with it too. Or no, is that Days of Future Past? Or I can't remember. Yeah.
Something like that.
I think it's Apocalypse. Yeah, Apocalypse ends
yeah.
with her giving teaching the X-Men.
And that's ultimately she has so much to do in Apocalypse, but then in Dark Phoenix, it was just so disappointing. She died so quickly. It kind of felt like, what, really? Already? And I think I have to be right about Jennifer Lawrence might not have wanted to be in the entire production.
Oh, you're 100% right, dude.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
I also like Scott Summers in the prequels because Ty Sheridan is a great actor who we talked about a few times, and we talked about Ready Player One. He's the lead in that. I think he's perfect as Cyclops. You know, this young, cocky kid who discovers his powers by accident and from going through puberty in high school in that bathroom when he takes out that bully with his eyes, and we get to learn how Hank, who we also learn is super, invented everything. He invented Cerebro, the jet. He did the goggles for Cyclops. We learned with him.
21-year-old.
Making those. Well, that's part of his mutation, right? He's being super smart.
Oh, is it?
I'm pretty sure it might be part of his mutation. I can't be sure, but
that would make sense.
Highly intelligent person in the X-Men franchise.
He's like Tesla.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's like Elon Musk.
Sort of.
But you could say that Ty Sheridan, he looks the most like his previous version of his character. He seems like he's a younger version of James Marsden.
Yeah, could be.
They definitely
sure. You could kind of relate.
Yeah.
I guess what's her name from Game of Thrones?
Sophie Turner.
I think anyone just sees someone with red hair, it's like, oh, we could fill her in as the ginger. Like they don't look a ton alike, but yeah.
They don't look anything alike.
Yeah, they really don't look at all.
Famke and her, no, not at all.
Don't even look related at all.
But no, I do like the introduction of Cyclops, and he was always one of my favorites as a kid, Cyclops, and
especially in the cartoon, the animated series.
And like we said in the last episode, he was so underutilized. In the third film, he has 2 scenes, and in these films,
And he screams on a cliff.
yeah. But in these films, I really like how much he was able to use his powers and how he's related to what's his brother's name? What's his name?
I can't remember.
His brother is the guy from First Class.
Yeah.
And they seem to have the same kind of energy that comes out of them, but with Scott, it comes out of his eyes.
It's like genetic or something. Their powers are
It's a
similar.
mutation.
Yeah, but Ty's great in it. I love his Ray-Ban, the original Ray-Ban glasses that
Yeah.
Hank makes for him. Obviously sponsored that.
Yeah.
And then he gets the evolution of the ones where you can touch the button.
Yeah.
But I like the character because it's really interesting where he just wraps his eyes and keeps them closed at all times before he finds it safe to open them up. And everyone thinks he's a freak, but Gene's like, no, I'm the freak here, bro. But they do fun teen stuff. They go to the mall
Yeah.
with
Stranger Things.
Nightcrawler.
Yeah.
And, they do stuff. They do help save the day, although Logan's cameo in this movie is epic. He's the one who saves everyone. He kills all the guards in that facility to help the others escape. And Stryker gets away, obviously, because he's a coward. But Logan is savage in this movie. It's like good PG-13 Logan action for sure.
It's pretty close to Berserker mode.
Yeah.
It's close to it.
But it shows how much of a powerful weapon he is. He's in that giant cage. It's like the same cages that the Velociraptors are in Jurassic Park. It's like, what the hell's inside that thing?
They're feeding him cows.
At first, I thought it was Juggernaut. Then I'm like, oh, I bet it's Wolverine. Feeding him whole lambs.
But it is interesting they did they tied together how Logan had some of his memories, just moments of them and flashes of them because Gene touched his head and gave him some of the memories.
Like his name.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think that's the one thing she gave him.
And then just like the flashes of his surgery.
Because he had no idea who he was or what he was. He just like kind of came out of that cage like a Velociraptor ready to kill.
Yeah.
Everything. It's pretty savage. Pretty epic.
Again, it shows you that he is the fan favorite.
But you can tell it's PG-13. There's like no blood anywhere. There's like one shot of blood splattering on like a wall or a floor, but he should be covered in blood.
Oh, yeah,
He's
caked in it.
hacking people up.
That's what I want, a really bloody Wolverine movie.
Logan was pretty great.
Yeah, but it's still like super bloody.
Lack of there. Yeah, you're right. The effects are great, but
imagine a scene like the Old Boy Hammer scene. Imagine Logan taking out a room full of 60 guys.
So no, it'd be like Crazy 88 scene in Kill Bill with Logan would be great because there's a ton of blood in that scene.
That would be epic. I want that.
You're a sick person.
But it's never going to happen because Disney owns it now.
You just want to watch blood spewing out of people? You're weird, man.
Yeah, it's great. It's not. Don't ever count on it happening, though. Marvel, Disney has control of it, so it's always going to be PG-13 now.
Yeah, but I'm sure they'll do a good job with it, hopefully, if they ever revive the character.
They're going to revive him.
Yeah, you're right. He's the lead, basically, for 8 of these movies.
Yeah, Disney likes making money. They're going to revive him.
All right. Do you have anything else you want to talk about?
I think we covered everything. All I have is just some trivia facts.
Yeah, let's do some trivia, bro.
But ultimately, I think this series, the prequel series, has the best X-Men movie in Days of Future Past. Ultimately, even the misses, they have some really great elements to them. The cast is great. Directing mostly is fantastic, and there are hits and there are misses, but I think it's still a great series. Now, some trivia. To prepare for his role as Charles Xavier, James McAvoy shaved his head on his own. He soon learned that the filmmakers wanted Xavier to actually have a full head of hair during the prequel. Throughout the first month of filming, McAvoy had to wear hair extensions because he was bald. He finally shaved his head for X-Men Apocalypse.
Nightcrawler from X-Men is actually Mystique's son, according to Marvel Comics canon. Although they barely interact during the movie X-Men First Class, Azazel and Mystique eventually have the child together, Kurt Wagner, a.k.a. Nightcrawler. He appears in X2, played by Alan Cumming, and again X-Men Apocalypse in Dark Phoenix, played by Cody Smith-McPhee.
Oh, so that's why he's blue. Makes sense now. In X-Men Days of Future Past, the script called for Logan to wake up in 1973 wearing boxer shorts. However, Hugh Jackman vetoed this, saying in favor of waking up nude, saying, in Australia, if you're next to a really good-looking girl, you're not getting out of the bed with boxer shorts on or anything at all. Sir Patrick Stewart and Sir Ian McKellen were performing in a touring production of Waiting for Godot when Bryan Singer approached the actors about reprising their roles as Professor X and Magneto. According to McKellen, both men were completely shocked as they thought they had passed the roles on to James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender and would never again play the characters. Both men were very delighted to return to their most popular roles and to also work with the younger actors playing the same characters. For Quicksilver's scene in Days of Future Past, the filmmakers recorded the scene in a very special camera format of 3,600 frames per second. This means that Quicksilver moved 150 times faster than the normal speed of a person. The camera was used to record close-ups and movements of Evan Peters, as well as the guards he beat up.
According to visual effects supervisor John Dykstra, the biggest problem with depicting Emma Frost's diamond body in X-Men First Class without looking like she was made of jello or the polygon model of a human being. The morphed Frost was rotomated into January Jones in the live-action plates while still retaining the actress's eyes and lips. As the character kept on going in and out of her diamond form, a motion capture tracking suit could not be employed, so the effects team used a jumpsuit covered in mirrors.
Pretty smart. The movie X-Men Dark Phoenix is one of the studio's biggest failures of all time. The film grossed only $250 million against a budget of well over $200 million. Dark Phoenix ended up losing the studio $120 million, making it the second lowest grossing X-Men film of all time, only behind The New Mutants.
All right, that wraps our X-Men prequel franchise episode. Thanks so much for tuning into this. Hope you enjoyed X-Men Week. And as much as we did, it was a lot of fun to talk about these characters finally.
I forget how good some of them are.
Yeah. There's 4 very good movies in these.
Yeah.
We got to do like a solo Logan episode at some point.
Yeah.
And, we'll tackle some more stuff in the future. But thanks so much for tuning into this episode wherever you're listening around the world. Make sure to check out the online podcast master course that we just launched. Again, go to our website if you want to check out the link for that, or podcastmasterclass.teachable.com. Sign up today. Learn everything behind the scenes that goes into our production and our show to help you get on a path of having a successful podcast like ours. Thanks so much for all of your support around the world.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks so much for tuning in to Raiders of the Lost podcast. Be sure to subscribe if you're new. Hit the like button, leave a comment. Find us on all audio streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Wherever you listen to podcasts, you can find us. Find us on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Raiders of the Lost podcast. Be sure to check out one of these other videos right here for more content on our favorite films and breaking down all kinds of movie content. Thanks so much.